Three spine-chilling true tales of the haunted. Unexplained terror exposed in sinister revelations. Emily could feel the oppressive air of Cedar Grove closing in around her. The quiet neighborhood, once a cozy haven, transformed into something sinister the moment her husband died. Suddenly, day after day spent serving coffee at the local cafe didn't feel like enough. As she staggered home, she couldn't shake the feeling that something lurked in the shadows, stalking her and her children. The once comforting lull of suburbia now resonated with dread, a low hum that caused her skin to prickle with anxiety. "Mom, did you hear that?" cried Lily, her 7-year-old, clutching her brother, Timmy, who blinked wide-eyed behind her. The tremor in her voice cut through the stillness of their modest home, punctuated only by the flickering glow of the TV. It was just a sudden creak from the aged floorboards, wasn't it? But the basement, oh, how it seemed to breathe, a weary sigh trapped within its pitch-black depths, whispering secrets she longed to forget. Over the weeks, details began to spiral. Neighbors who once shared friendly smiles now cast wary glances, as if they too could sense the growing unease. As Emily passed by, she couldn't help but overhear snippets of hushed conversations that stopped the moment she approached. There were sidelong looks and whispers, a tension palpable in the summer air. What was wrong with everyone? What were they hiding? That night, while her children slept, Emily found herself awake, heart racing as she swore she caught fleeting shadows darting past the front windows. Were they just figments of her imagination or real phantoms creeping back to claim what was once a joyful home? And then there were the drawings, Lily's sketches growing darker, the sinister figure lurking ominously behind a family portrait, all stitched with eerie hints. Timmy's newfound friend, who haunted their nights, sent dread pooling in Emily's stomach. Who was this innately terrifying visitor? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Desperate for answers, Emily turned to the local authorities, but their dismissive attitudes chipped away at her sanity. Was she just a frantic mother caught in the throes of grief? The fear clawed at her, wrapping around her heart like a noose. One fateful evening, after another grueling shift, she raced home, adrenaline pumping. Panic set in when she heard her children scream, piercing the heavy silence of a place she thought was home. Sprinting through the door, she felt her blood turn to ice as she confronted the chilling reality waiting within the walls. Whispers unraveled secrets long kept in Cedar Grove, intertwining the fabric of her idyllic neighborhood with something far more sinister. The true horror did not lurk just within her home, but was woven into the very community she had trusted. Friendly faces concealed a dark history, and as Emily peeled back the layers of deceit, she felt the suffocating weight of danger close in around her. As she pieced together the forgotten tales of conflict and tragedy that haunted those seemingly familiar streets, she realized with bitter clarity. If she didn't act fast, she risked losing not just her home, but the very essence of what it meant to be a mother. Time was slipping away, her heart pounding frantically as dread gripped her with every tick of the clock. Just then, an icy chill swept through the room, and a soft, sweet voice echoed from the back door. "Mommy, it's time to play." Emily froze, the sound of that childish voice slicing through her growing panic like a knife. Everything inside her screamed to run, to escape the looming shadow that had settled over Cedar Grove. Yet, a mother's instinct compelled her to investigate. Hesitantly, she crossed the threshold, her heart hammering in her chest. The back door creaked as it opened, revealing a darkened yard where the moon cast eerie silhouettes of the trees. Time felt suspended, the shadows pulsating as though they were alive. The world outside her home no longer felt safe. "Lily? Timmy?" she called, her voice trembling as it echoed into the night. "Mommy." The voice was sweet, but it held an unnatural cadence, a sing-song eeriness that prickled her skin. It seemed to beckon her towards the darkness, but every step felt like she was tethered to a nightmare. Just then, a flash caught her eye, a flicker of movement. Was it a reflection? Or something more? She squinted into the night, heart sinking as she spied Lily's sketchbook lying just outside the door, pages flapping like trapped birds. One shot of fear struck her. Had her daughter left it there? Emily rushed to retrieve it, but as she bent down, she felt the cold breath of a wind that shouldn't exist, pushing against her back. It felt as if a presence lingered just behind her, full of dread and whispered threats. "Mommy, please." The voice was closer now, shrouded in darkness. Emily turned, her pulse racing, and squinted into the murky yard. Nothing, just night, heavy and thick. The tangible weight of something watching, waiting. Adrenaline surged. She needed to get her children and leave, connect with the real world beyond the suffocating veil of Cedar Grove secrets. She sprinted back inside, slamming the door behind her, and locked it with shaking hands. "Lily, Timmy," she called again, panic threading through her words. She dashed toward their rooms, but the house was quiet. Too quiet. She flung open Timmy's door, empty. Her heart felt like it would leap from her chest. She went to Lily's room, each step thundering in her ears, praying they were together. The door creaked loudly, a direct challenge to the silence. "Mommy." Timmy's voice rang out, barely audible, but unmistakably coming from the shadows beneath the bed. "Help." Bending down, Emily reached out, her fingertips brushing the cool floor. The moment she peered under the bed, nothing. Just shadows twisting and curling, hungry for warmth. But before she could pull back, Timmy grabbed her hand, yanking her closer before she realized it wasn't him. "Found you." The soft, sweet voice spoke again, filled with malice and something else, hunger. Emily could feel her defenses crumble as a cold dread washed over her. This wasn't Timmy's voice. She gasped, wrenching her hand free. Suddenly, the bedroom door swung shut, slamming shut as darkness enveloped her. Panic erupted within her as she pressed her back against the wall, breathlessly searching for the light switch, but it was out, a deep void around her. In that suffocating darkness, she heard giggles that twisted into shrieks, terrible and sharp, erupting from every corner of the room. "Let us play forever, Mommy." As the shadows danced hungrily on the walls, Emily realized something far worse than she imagined was waiting to claim her family. And just as the darkness began to close in, the shadows whispered one last time, "You should have never looked." What would she do next? Would the nightmares among her neighbors come for her children, or could she break free before it was too late? The air was thick and suffocating, wrapping around Emily like a vice. Heart pounding, she squeezed her eyes shut, willing the nightmarish shadows back. "Lily, Timmy," she shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. The giggles morphed into cries, echoing off the walls and swirling around her like a dark storm. Emily stumbled back, her palms pressed against the cool, unforgiving wall. Where were her children? "Please," she pleaded, though she knew the terror was not just in the absence of their voices. It was in the very air around her, a chill that gnawed at her spine. Somewhere in the shadows, a figure lurked, reshaping the darkness itself. She sensed its malevolence, spreading like ink soaking through fabric. "Mommy, it's game time." The voice sang again, sticky and sweet, pulling at memories of joy that seemed grotesquely out of place now. Gripping the edge of the bed, Emily fought to breathe, to think. She thought of the last time they played together, Timmy's laughter ringing out as he hidden behind a tree. The game had felt innocent then, but now? Now it was twisted. With a sudden resolve, she lunged for the door, pushing against the oppressive gloom that wanted to keep her trapped. But as she turned the knob, the whispers grew louder, screaming her name in a multitude of voices. "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy." The tormenting chorus resonated in her skull, shaking her confidence. The door wouldn't budge. Panic spiraled within her, tightening her chest. "No," she cried, pulling harder. Just then, a new sound sliced through, a soft shuffling from the other side, followed by a childish giggle that sent ice coursing through her veins. But this wasn't her child. This was something else, something wrong. A heavy silence fell. It was suffocating, deeper than the shadows. Emily's breath came in ragged gasps as she frantically scanned the room for an escape, her eyes darting frantically over the shadowed walls. Images of her children joining whatever malevolence now held them captive flickered in her mind. "Stop it!" Emily screamed, and in that instant, the room dimmed further. A shivering thought struck. She could feel the anger behind the whispers. Fear choked her as she realized what it wanted. It wanted her despair, her hopelessness. Suddenly, the room shifted, and a thick fog oozed in, clawing at her ankles, whispering secrets of despair as it rose. Drugged by fear, she fought against it, searching for anything to anchor her back to hope. Gripping the edge of Lily's bed, she summoned every ounce of courage left within her. You can't have them. They are mine. The shadows recoiled slightly at her voice, a moment of hesitation in their advance, but quickly surged back, angry and furious. Playtime is not over, the sweet voice taunted, twisting and wrapping around Emily's resolve, testing her. The shadows seemed to extend, stretching toward her with a life of their own. As if signaled, the bed creaked, and the figure behind it began to rise, taking form from the ash-black darkness. Emily's breath stopped. She could make out familiar features twisted into something grotesque. "Mommy, come join us, we've been waiting." Terror surged through her, flooding her veins as she stumbled back, but the door still wouldn't open. The weight of fear nearly crippled her. Suddenly, she heard a soft thump coming from down the hall. "Mommy?" It was Timmy. Heart racing, she pushed against the door one last time, and this time it burst open, landing her on the floor in a tumble of limbs and desperation. There was no time to think. She scrambled to her feet and bolted down the hall following the voice. Shadows chased her, hissing and clawing at her like a living nightmare, but she couldn't stop. "Mommy!" Timmy's voice again, louder now, warped into something sinister, yet it grounded her. She turned quickly into Timmy's room and froze that a figure loomed near Timmy's bed. Too still, too quiet it looked back, eyes reflecting the dim light, like black marbles. Emily's heart sunk. She couldn't lose him. Not to this creature of darkness. "Timmy, get back!" she yelled, adrenaline surging as she hurled herself toward him. As she reached for him, everything blurred. Shadows mercilessly closed in from all sides. The foul laughter echoed around her, overlapping with Timmy's terrified cries. What had she brought back with her from the dark? She could feel it tightening its grip, seeping into the room, twisting it. But just as she was about to reach Timmy, a blinding white flash erupted, illuminating the entire room. The shadows recoiled, howling in fury. Emily couldn't see what happened next, only felt the intense heat wash over them as she shielded her eyes. When she opened them, she found herself alone in a hushed silence, the room serene. But where was Timmy? Did she just dream it all? Then came a knock, soft and innocent. "Mommy, can I come out?" She froze, heart racing again with dread. That wasn't Timmy's voice. "Mommy?" The haunting echo filled the air, and Emily's heart plummeted. What was still lurking in the shadows, waiting for her answer? The sound echoed through the house, a twisted mimicry that sent Emily's heart racing. Sweat coated her palms as she gripped the doorframe, scanning the hallway where shadows danced like phantoms. "Mommy?" It called again, familiar yet wrong, a melody tainted by something sinister. Emily's mind raced. She had to make a choice. Was it Timmy, or a trick? Fear wrapped around her, a thick fog that blotted out rational thought. She could feel its presence behind her, an unseen force, waiting for her to falter, to break. "Timmy?" she whispered, forcing the name through quivering lips. The silence that followed felt heavy, pressing down like a weight she couldn't shake off. "Mommy, I'm scared." The voice strained out, thin and quivering, but something in its tone too sweet, too lullaby-like made her skin crawl. "No," she spat, her instincts screaming. "You're not my son." A chill raced through her veins. With newfound resolve, she turned her back to the sound. She had to find Timmy and Lily. They had to be here somewhere. As she stepped out into the dim corridor, the darkness shifted. Each step felt slow, constricted as if the air conspired to keep her trapped. The walls loomed on either side, whispering fragmented echoes of laughter, twisting with anguish. Moving past Timmy's room, she glanced inside. The shadows thickened, curling around the furniture like smoke. No sign of her boy. Panic rose again, a cruel wave threatening to drown her. Lily's room was at the end of the hall, barely an arm's length away. The floor creaked beneath her as she hurried, fueled by an urgency she couldn't name. Every heartbeat was a countdown, every breath a struggle against the suffocating dread. Lily, she called out, voice trembling. Inside, the door swung open slightly, as if taunting her to enter. A chill crawled up her spine at the sight. A soft glow filled the room, illuminating the silhouettes of toys strewn about. It felt wrong, like a setup to something horrifying. With cautious steps, she slipped inside, heart pounding. Lily? She whispered, peering into the corners, searching desperately. Mommy? The voice came again, soft yet full of unearthly distortion. Just then, from the closet, a small figure emerged. Emily's breath caught in her throat. It's okay, Mommy. I was playing hide-and-seek. Lily's silhouette was almost angelic, but there was an edge of sharpness in her features that didn't belong. Get away from there, Emily shouted, realizing too late that something deeper lurked within her daughter's eyes. Lily's gaze flickered with malevolence, a darkness that chilled Emily to her core. Why don't you want to play? The child asked innocently, tilting her head. Everyone's waiting for you. She briefly glimpsed the shadows curling in the corners of the room, distorting her daughter's little form with dark tendrils that seemed to breathe like living things. Emily stepped back, her stomach churning. No, not you too. The air vibrated with an eerie laughter, rising and swelling, enveloping her like a cocoon. That familiar voice twisted into something unrecognizable, gnawing at her sanity. Join us, Mommy, stay and play forever. The shadows surged, clawing forward like a black tide. Emily's instincts screamed at her. With one explosive movement, she bolted for the door, but the moment her fingers touched the knob, the shadows wrapped around her, fierce and tenacious. Help me, she screamed, the words filling the air like a desperate prayer, but there was no answer. Only the laughter echoed, the sickening delight of the unseen entity, tightening around her like a noose. Just as she felt herself being pulled back into the darkness, a voice broke through the haze. Mommy, Timmy. That was Timmy's voice, clear and decisive, cutting through the malevolence like a knife. Timmy? She gasped, tears streaming down her cheeks. Suddenly, the shadows hesitated, recoiling momentarily at his call. She took advantage of the moment, wrenching the door open wide and stumbling back into the hallway. Timmy, where are you? She yelled, her voice raw with panic, but the only answer was silence and the flickering of lights, the shadows advancing again. Then she saw at a door at the end of the hall that she had never noticed before. It was slightly ajar, light streaming from within like a beacon. Timmy. She dashed toward it, desperate for hope, for a promise that her children were still alive. The shadows hissed at her heels. Hungry and relentless, she reached for the doorknob. The whispers crescendoed, suffocating her, pulling at her limbs like chains. Join us, Mommy. She grasped the handle, fear and urgency mingling in her chest. Would she find Timmy? Or would she step into the unknown and unravel everything once more? With a final, shuddering breath, she flung the door open and froze. Inside stood Timmy, his eyes wide with horror, looking past her at something she could not see. Mommy, what lay behind her made her blood run cold. Don't look, Timmy screamed, but it was too late. A chilling revelation gripped her heart as darkness enveloped her vision once more, pulling her toward the unknown. What awaited her in the void? What nightmare had she yet to confront? Emily's heart raced, a war drum echoing in her ears. She felt the heat of Timmy's body as he stood there, trembling. The shadows loomed behind her, whispering words she could not decipher, but felt in her bones, their aura thickening, waiting to pounce. What is happening? She stammered, turning to look over her shoulder, but a single glance at the dark mass sent fear spiraling through her. The faces within the shadows shifted like smoke, grotesque and hungry. Mommy, please, Timmy pleaded, his voice cracking. Close your eyes. I can't know. I want tea. She needed to see. She had to know what was hunting them. In that moment, silence fell like an executioner's blade. The shadows ceased their dance, holding their breath, teasing her with uncertainty. Stay back, she shouted, brandishing a shaky hand at the creeping darkness. Timmy's eyes widened further, reflecting something terrifying lurking behind her. What if they take you too? He whimpered, stepping forward, but she flung out an arm to stop him. No, you can't come closer. Then, as if responding to a silent command, the shadows recoiled, whispering her name in a dissonant symphony. They were toying with her, and the more Emily fought, the stronger they became. A twisted glee resonated from the depths of the void. Join us, they sung, each repetition morphing her name into a mockery. The darkness surged toward her again, and she stumbled back, colliding against Timmy. We have to go. We can't stay here. But Lily. Timmy's plea trembled like a wisp of candlelight against a gust of wind. The urgency in his tone shattered her moment of resolve. Emily's instincts pulled her back. She couldn't leave her daughter. We have to find her. But as she clung to that thought, the air thickened, an oppressive weight that clawed at her neck. The shadows twisted into shapes, taunting her with indistinct forms that flickered in and out, whispering secrets of the children that had come and gone before them. Emily, a chilling voice crooned, echoing in her mind. The way it twisted her name felt wrong, as if it belonged to something far worse than the shadows. She recognized that voice and echo, a memory dug up from a grave she thought long buried. Get out! She screamed at the darkness, but it was all-consuming, closing in like a vice. Mommy! Timmy cried, pulling at her sleeve. The desperation in his voice pushed her forward. She turned back to face him, drawing strength from his wide, frightened eyes. We'll find her. We have to stay together, she urged, her voice steady now, though her heart raced like a caged bird. No, don't turn, Timmy shouted, his words a frantic plea. But Emily was already spinning. She was determined to confront the darkness, to pull back the veil, and there it lay, the closet door swinging open. Shadows slipped from the opening like fog, tendrils snaking toward her. Lily! She screamed again, forcing herself into the suffocating space, hoping against hope. But the closet was empty, save for swirling darkness that drained the warmth from her skin. And then, an echoing giggle pierced the silence. Lily's laughter, tinkling like wind chimes in a breeze. But it was the wrong kind of laughter. It sent shivers crawling up her spine. Mommy, come play with us. Terror cascaded through Emily like ice water. She turned, only to find Timmy's eyes dulled, glaze settling over a once bright spirit. Timmy, come play, he echoed, the words slipping out of him like a forgotten memory. No. Timmy, fight it. You're not. As if on cue, the shadows crawled in closer, encasing him, silencing her cries. She reached out to pull him back, but it was too late. The shadows swarmed around him, swallowing him alive. Mommy, Mommy, the whisper grew fainter, distorted by the shroud of darkness, now claiming her son like a thief in the night. She stumbled back, watching helplessly as the void consumed him whole. The laughter echoed once more, an orchestra of twisted delight, as darkness rose to swallow her last hope. But just then, from somewhere deep within the blackness, she heard it again, a new voice cutting through the chaos, louder, clear as day. Mommy, I'm here. It was Lily. Lily! Emily screamed, desperation flooding her every fiber. The shadows recoiled, retreating just enough for her to see a small figure between them, isolated yet surrounded, slowly moving closer. Get away from her! Emily cried, launching herself forward against the encroaching darkness. Mommy, help! Fear gripped her, but it was nothing compared to the resolve building inside. She had to get Lily back. She had to fight, even as she felt the shadows grasping at her ankles. A promise crystallized. She would not let them take her family. But could she withstand the dark things lurking in the unknown? The shadows shifted, and laughter bubbled forth again, a sinister welcome back home. The nightmare had only just begun. What else lay hidden, lying in wait, ready to consume everything she held dear? Emily lunged forward, desperation propelling her through the dense crowd of darkness. She had to reach Lily. No matter how heavily the shadows pressed against her, she pushed through, mouth dry with fear and resolve coursing through her veins like ice water. Lily, she screamed, her voice hoarse and raw. The shadows seemed to ripple in response, vibrating with twisted laughter that echoed around her, throwing her off balance. It was maddeningly chaotic, the very air around her thick with their sinister delight. Mommy! The voice was louder now, familiar yet tinged with something sinister. Emily's heart twisted at the familiar sound that had once brought her joy but now filled her with dread. With every step, the shadows closed in tighter. They twisted and contorted, forming grotesque shapes that lunged at her, trying to pull her back into the abyss. She felt their cold fingers graze her skin, and a shudder ran through her. It clawed at her sanity, begging her to turn back, to accept the darkness as her new reality. But the echo of Lily's laughter kept her moving forward. "Mommy, I see you." "Lily, hold on." The words fell from her lips like a prayer. She could feel the floor beneath her shaking. Was it her trembling feet, or the very foundation of the universe? It didn't matter. She needed to focus. And then she saw her. Through the writhing mass of shadows, Lily stood. The sweet girl she'd nurtured, her innocent light glimmering amidst the darkness. But something was off. Lily's smile was twisted, her eyes shimmering with an unsettling gleam that made the hair on Emily's neck stand up. "Mommy, come play with us." There it was again, that echo of innocence, now turned into a cruel invitation. The shadows tightened around Lily, clinging to her like moths seeking warmth, drawing strength from her very essence. "No, Lily, you have to fight. They're lying to you." Emily screamed, dread tightening its grip on her heart. She rushed forward, her hands outstretched as if she could bridge the distance with sheer willpower. But the moment she reached for her daughter, the shadows lunged. They crawled up her legs, tugging harshly, pulling her down. Emily gasped, feeling the cold seep into her bones, dark tendrils tangling around her waist and dragging her back, whispering sweet promises of release into her ear. "Mommy, please." Timmy's voice echoed again, merging with Lily's laughter, a haunting chorus that filled her mind with dread. "We can play too. It's fun down here now." Emily shouted, her voice cracking. Panic surged through her, battling against the smothering weight of despair. She reached deep inside, her heart pounding a rapid tempo against her ribs. She refused to yield. "Fight it," she screamed, anchoring each syllable with every shred of love she had for them. "Remember the stories. Remember the picnics in the park. The puppet shows. You're our family. You belong with me." The shadows hissed, recoiling slightly as if her words were a flame scorching their mob-like forms. For a brief moment, she could see Lily, clarity breaking through the haze darkening those bright eyes. "Mommy?" Help tears streaming down her face. Emily felt every ounce of her resolve returned. "I'm right here, Lily. I'll always come for you." "You are not lost." The shadows writhed angrily now, screaming for her to be silent. They pulled harder, the cold wrapping around her throat, constricting, squeezing like a vice. With a final burst of strength, she broke through the fog, lunging again toward her daughter. "Hold on, Lily. We are together." But as the distance shrank, something shifted, a foundation cracking beneath the surface. The laughter morphed, a chorus of shrieks that clawed at her sanity, and in that instant, everything spiraled into chaos. "No, come back." The shadows hissed, their collective voice rising like a tidal wave. Emily felt herself being yanked away, the specter of despair stretching her courage thin. In one last desperate move, she thrust her hand forward, her fingers grazing Lily's. For that instant, time froze. The shadows shrieked, a cacophony of rage and confusion swirling around them. "Mommy!" Lily cried out, voice piercing through the fog, a bright beacon fighting against the encroaching darkness. And then, darkness erupted violently, swallowing everything. Raging whispers twisted around them, tugging at Emily's very soul. She could no longer see Lily. The darkness swarmed back in, enveloping them in a heart-thudding embrace. "Mommy, save me!" But before she could answer, the world dissolved into a fog, shadows engulfing her scream, a void of choking silence wrapping around her. What had she done? And then she realized, amidst the darkness, the shadows were not done yet. No, they had only begun their game. Next time, dear Emily will take more than just your son. As shadows coiled up like serpents, Emily's mind raced. She had to find a way to break the cycle before they lost everything. But where would she begin? The darkness engulfed her entirely, and for a moment, Emily was suspended in a void of terror. It pressed in from every side, a suffocating weight that threatened to crush her spirit completely. Her breath quickened, panic igniting a blaze in her chest as shadows danced around her, taunting and swirling in cruel, mocking gestures. "Lily!" Her voice, thick with fear and desperation, broke against the oppressive stillness. But there was only silence now, a silence that screamed louder than any sound. She stumbled backward, disoriented, the ground beneath her shifting like a tangle of roots. Her heart raced as reality slipped further from her grasp. The shadows formed anew, shapes creeping closer, their malicious whispers sliding into her mind like daggers. "Here wears down," they hissed, their voices overlapping in a bone-chilling chorus. "You're lost now, no," Emily shouted, summoning every ounce of her fading strength. "You want to take me." But the shadows only cackled, their laughter a chilling melody that sent shivers skittering down her spine. She needed to think. She had to break free. Suddenly, an idea struck her, a desperate hope buried beneath despair. The stories, the memories, the very fabric of what once held her family together. Remember the birthday party? The balloons? Lily loved the blue ones. She cried, not caring if she sounded insane. Timmy loved the big cake with the chocolate frosting. You don't control us." For a moment, the shadows recoiled, flickering like a flame under a breeze. It was enough. The tiniest glimmer of light sparked in the depths of her mind, the memory of family, of love, of laughter shattering the looming darkness. "Mommy," the whisper came faintly from somewhere deep within, a fragile echo. "Help, Lily." Emily's heart leapt. Was that truly her daughter reaching out? She felt warmth bloom in her chest, igniting courage. "I'm here. Hold on, baby. I'm fighting for you. We are more than this." The shadows writhed, hissing in agony as she summoned each cherished moment from her memory like shields to deflect their assault. The chaos thickened, but with every recollection, Emily began to see through the fog. "Remember the park, when we all flew kites?" The sun was shining. She spoke faster now, the tremor in her voice mingling with fervor. "Timmy ran after the orange kite while you and I laughed. Remember how we made faces at the ducks?" In response, the darkness buckled. Grotesque forms morphed into fleeting images of everything. They had been snippets of laughter, joy reflected in their faces. Yet the shadows lurked, their fury laying just beneath the surface. "Quick! Fight it! Stop!" they howled, twisting angrily at their defeat, shifting with rage that suffocated hope. "They belong with us now. Join us." "Never!" Emily screamed, furious now. "You can't take them. You don't own me." In an explosive surge of light, she felt herself being propelled forward. The ground solidified beneath her feet, and with all the strength she could muster, she ran. Suddenly, a door appeared, glistening in the abyss like a beacon. She flung it open, expecting to see her loving family intertwined in a warm embrace. Instead, she was met with an empty, cold room save for a single wooden chair in the center. "Lily? Timmy?" Panic clawed at her throat. This wasn't right. A ghostly figure draped in shadows stood behind the chair, eyes glimmering with malice. "Dear Emily," it whispered, voice oily and thick. "You think fleeing from us will save them? We'll take you, too, or perhaps explore the more inviting prospects. Get away from them." She yelled, a new wave of determination surging through her. A shiver of fear sliced through her veins as she lunged toward the figure. But in a blink, more shadows surged from the walls, wrapping around her, pinning her down. As the shadows closed in, she felt a sudden chill, the unmistakable prick of dread racing through her body. Would she be swallowed by the darkness, lost forever into the void with her children? "No, I'll fight," Emily screamed, battling against the grips of shadowy hands. But she was losing ground. What could she do to save them? Desperation clawed at her thoughts as the figure leaned closer, its face obscured but the chilling voice clear. "Time to play, darling, and we are just getting started." The whispers raised and fell like a symphony, drowning her thoughts with fear. She thought of her children's faces, conjuring their light, refusing to let them vanish into this nightmare. But the shadows began their relentless dance around her once more, shadows of the past pulling tighter, wrapping their cold fingers around her mind. "Mommy, please," she could hear Lily's voice, soft but fading, pulling at her heartstrings. Through a torrent of adrenaline and deep-set fear, one thought pierced through her mind. What if light was the only way to break free? And in the depths of encroaching darkness, Emily took a deep breath, resolving to find not only her children but the source of this nightmare, the one who had woven despair into their lives. But where was the source? And how would she confront such evil? As shadows laughed, the darkness trembled in anticipation, and Emily knew, without a doubt, the battle had only just begun. The shadows coiled tighter around Emily, their icy grip a suffocating reminder of her desperation. Panic surged through her like a volcanic eruption, each pulse hammering against her ribs. "I won't let you win," she bellowed, summoning every fraction of hope until her voice cracked with the force. The figure loomed closer, grinning wide as its eyes sparkled like shards of glass reflecting a deeper darkness. "Oh, sweet Emily, you truly think you can escape?" Lily's voice echoed through the hall, fragile yet insistent. "Mommy, help me," each whisper wrapped around Emily like a thorny vine, tethering her spirit to the ground as the figure twisted, watching her struggle with gleeful anticipation. "Where are you, my children?" The question screamed in her mind, drowning out the laughter. Emily felt the walls closing in, shadows morphing into visions of her past. They taunted her fragments of family moments, now twisted into grotesque caricatures. The laughter of her children sounded shrill, mocking her futile attempts to fight back. Breath hitching, she racked her mind for every piece of light she could muster. The campfire stories she murmured, images flickering behind her eyes, calm moments of joy. The stars we watched together, the way we roasted marshmallows with each memory. She felt the shadows flinch, recoiling from her words like they were caught in a sudden blaze. Sensing their fear ignited a flicker of courage deep within her soul. Lily liked the stories of bravery. Timmy wanted to be a hero, she shouted, her resolve hardening with every syllable. The figure's smile faltered, surprise flickering in its translucent features. "You cling to the past. It won't save you." It spat, a heady mix of anger and fear rippling from its form. But Emily pressed on. "Those memories are the home we built. You can't take that away from me. You're just shadows." The words hung in the air, shimmering with defiance. She conjured more moments. Laughter, the sweet scent of freshly baked cookies in the air, the warmth of her children's hugs. As if struck, the walls trembled, shadows wavering like reflections on disturbed water. Emily seized the moment. She remembered the flashlight hidden in the bottom of her purse, a remnant of her days filled with safety. "Light!" she shouted toward the darkness, her heart racing. "I need light. But how? In this endless void, how could she conjure something so fundamental? A candle, a spark." The shadows surged, a furious wave crashing against her, the chill of their anger suffocating. "You're only making it worse for yourself," they shrieked, their voices overlapping into a deafening roar. The atmosphere thickened, vibrating with a malevolence that clawed at her sanity. Instinct kicked in, and she closed her eyes, visualizing the tiniest flicker of a flame, the glimmering light of a candle wick. The warmth she remembered brought her forward like a beacon of hope. Drawing on her love for Lily and Timmy, she focused harder, begged the universe to help her summon that shining warmth, and suddenly, an ember ignited within her. A flash of light burst forth, illuminating the swirling shadows, piercing through the thick fabric of darkness that had enveloped her. For a moment, there was quiet, a stunned pause, as if the forces of the night held their breath. But the figure shrieked in rage, thrashing against the light, trying to push it back. "No, no," it screamed. "You cannot defeat the darkness." Emily pressed forward, the light growing stronger, radiating from her core. "You are nothing. You can't control me," she shouted, her heart pounding to a frenzied tempo. The shadows splintered, dissolving like mist under the sun's embrace. But just when victory felt close, she stumbled back, the world shifting. "Emily!" Lily's voice weaved through the air, haunting and desperate. "Mommy?" The fear echoed, pulling at Emily's heart, pulling her back. In the chaos, she saw a door open behind her, revealing a darkened corridor lined with flickering images of her family, frightened faces caught in shadows. An instinctive pull surged in her chest. Should she pursue the light, or protect the remnants of her love waiting behind? Time hung suspended, and a challenge hung in the air. What if the doorway led to her salvation, or her doom? She needed to choose now. And as the darkness hissed with insatiable hunger, Emily took a step forward, torn between the allure of the light and the chilling cries from the shadows. Could she venture into the unknown one last time? Could she trust the light within to reveal the truth, or risk everything? A heartbeat passed, then decisions clashed into chaos as shadows whispered of what lay ahead. Emily hesitated, her breath shallow. The door yawned like a gaping maw, beckoning her into the darkness behind it. Flickering images clawed at her heart, those faces she adored distorted in silent screams. Something twisted inside her as Lily's plea pulsed against her mind. "Mommy, help me," that voice. It was torn between despair and hope, and Emily felt her world narrowing into that singular echo, reducing everything to a fierce yearning to save her child. Was it a trick? The shadows whispered, slithering closer, wrapping around her like a serpent preparing to strike. "Keep moving." The voice was her own, battling against the fear that threatened to drown her. She lifted her hand to shield her face from the leaping shadows and felt a sudden warmth, a spark flickering anew. The light pushed back, illuminating the door further, casting long, twisting shadows that echoed a dance of dark figures whispering promises of safety or ruin. "Lily," she shouted, the name breaking free like a wounded animal leaping from a trap. The darkness wavered, pulled back, and revealed a passage lined with what should have been familiar. Honest memories twisted into horrific parodies flashed before her. Festive ribbons turned into chains, the sweet laughter of her children warped into hollow cackles. Images of birthdays morphed into scenes of horrific guilt. The anguish clawed at her chest. "No," Emily screamed, willing it all to fade. Yet, the figures smiled back at her, cruel and mocking. "You'll never have them again." "No." She took a shaky step forward, aiming to drown out their laughter. But the shadows surged forward, the energy crackling like electricity, dark tendrils lashing like whips at her skin. "Mommy!" The cry again. The sound reverberated in her bones, pulling her, tethering her to her fears. Everything in her demanded she turn back, away from the knowing darkness threatening to consume her. "Turn away from the shadows, Emily." A voice, unfamiliar yet reassuring, whispered from the sliver of light. "Trust your love." And just like that, the last piece of her selflessness ignited. Channeling all that warmth she had felt in the past, she focused, pushing against the darkness. "I refuse to let you have them." The shadows recoiled, hissing like feral beasts, retreating under her onslaught of love. Their forms shifted, losing shape as she unleashed her light upon them. Fear coiled in her stomach as she pressed harder. Suddenly, a bone-chilling laughter erupted from the distance, drawing her gaze. The door's other side began to churn, dark figures forming within its depths as ominous shapes stirred behind Lily's echoed cries. Fear gripped her heart like icy fingers. "Mommy, please," she faced the voices, each word shaping into a tangible force, muffled yet insistent. That was the crux, wasn't he it? To save Lily, she had to face deeper fears. To heal the pain, she needed to break through the horror of her past. "Enough!" Emily roared, feeling strength surge again despite the anguish swirling all around her. She thrust her hands toward the door, desperate to rip away the veil of shadows. "I will protect them with everything I have." The barrier quivered under her force, breaking the oppressive pressure as a crack of light shot through. In that moment, the myriad of shadows swirled around her, threatening to snuff out her spirit. But Emily would not bend. She pressed on, willing a push that felt like a hurricane against the encroaching doom. "I'm coming for you, Lily." "Timmy." As the darkness screeched, splintering around her, she felt a sharp pull from the door, the shadow stretching to ensnare her even as she fell towards the brilliant light. Before she sprinted through, she dared one last glance into the abyss. What lay in the corridor was both dreadful and exhilarating. Hallways twisted into never-ending mazes, memories flickering in and out, whispers growing louder. "Are you ready for what's ahead, Emily?" The figure's sneer transformed into a question, voice curling around her confidently. "You'll wish you hadn't opened that door," and with that, the distance thickened, shadows slamming shut around her. There was no turning back now. The journey awaited on the other side, a journey through terror that would either free her family or seal their fate forever. What unforeseen horrors awaited just beyond the brink? Would she find them alive or lost to darkness forever? Emily stood poised at the threshold, heart racing, every pulse synchronized with the often loathsome whispers that promised darkness. The walls shimmered with despair, the shadows awaiting her decision like wolves in waiting, hungry for innocence. She could feel it pressing down, testing her resolve. Yet, determination burned bright. igniting her heart with a fierce light. "I'm coming for you, my loves," she shouted, a desperate vow reverberating through the air, invigorating her tired body. It was a pledge wrapped in clarity and resolve. The flame she had cradled in memory transformed into a beacon. With a swift motion, Emily pushed through the door. She felt the clash of pressure, shadows tugging at her legs as if trying to drag her back into oblivion. But she wouldn't be swayed. Light erupted around her, a blinding surge that shattered the darkness, warping the nightmarish form she had come to loathe. The shadows writhed in agony, their malicious laughter warping into cacophonic shrieks, each adjustment of their twisted bodies revealing glimpses of what they could never be. Nothing without her fear. The space expanded into an infinite haze filled with colors swirled in ethereal tranquility. In the heart of this newfound existence, time slowed as she caught glimpses of the infinite tapestries, memories of her children, their laughter, the warmth of their hugs, and the irreplaceable bond that tied them together. She could feel them, their spirits sparkled, hidden yet not gone. "Timmy, Lily," Emily called, her voice echoing through the air, weaving through the fabric of light. "I'm here. I'll find you." The words felt like wings, lifting her, propelling her forward. Then she saw them, ghostly silhouettes dancing just beyond the horizon of light. "Mommy!" Timmy's voice rang through her heart like an awakening bell. "Timmy!" With every ounce of love, she surged closer, hands reaching out, straining against the remaining shadows that flittered around her. They shrieked, furious and desperate to hold on to the little souls, but they couldn't grasp her resolve. "Stay with me," she yelled, locking her eyes on her son and daughter. Their forms shimmered, their brightness fighting against the lies they'd been fed. But the shadows crested, hissing warnings that pricked at her skin. "Join us, Emily. There's no salvation for you." "No, I choose love," she screamed, and that singular declaration ruptured the oppressive hold of the shadows. In that moment, she felt her energy intertwine with the compassion and happiness she channeled from the love of her children. She was one with their laughter, their light. The spark she nurtured began to swell, illuminating the vicinity with the vivid warmth that shadows couldn't consume. "You cannot have us," she bellowed, determination intertwining with love, her breath sharp and clear. With each pulsating beat, she embraced the bond, drawing her children closer. "You are not alone. I will never let them take you," she shouted into the dimness, igniting barriers and tearing through the fog. The shadows twisted in rage as Emily lunged, gathering her children into her arms, merging all three of their essences into a brilliant, radiant force. Together, their voices echoed, harmonizing into a celestial symphony that resonated through the darkness, unraveling the very fabric of despair. Then the walls cracked, splitting open amidst a blinding flash as light burst forth, exploding into the malevolence, driving the shadows from their prison of fear. The darkness screeched, dissolving as energy pulsed in sweet, sweet liberation. As everything unraveled, the trio stood together, a kaleidoscope of warmth and love enveloping them like a soft cocoon. The fear that once chained Emily felt specter-like, now a faint whisper within the echoes of what they had overcome. They were alive together, the shadows banished, the darkness retreating like an evening fog. Timmy clutched her hand, innocent and bright, while Lily beamed with sweetness. "Mommy, you came." She twinkled, those once sorrowful features renewed, banishing the remnants of despair. "Of course I did," Emily cried, tears of pure relief flowing freely as she drew them both close. Forever and always, they stood there, embracing the radiant light spilling around them, weaving hope into the tapestry of their family restored. In that moment, they were whole again, threaded together against a backdrop that sparkled like stars amidst the night, free from shadows, free from fear. And so, as they stepped away from the remnants of dark folds, Emily felt the peace wash over them, an acknowledgement of their battle and the promise of brighter tomorrows. Cedar Grove became just a memory, a page in their story, one of survival and strength. "Together, my loves," she whispered, looking at the stars above, "we will fill the world with light." In the distance, beyond the fading shadows, hope resonated, whispering promises of new beginnings. "Now, before you leave, Take a moment and remember the journey we've shared. You need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your unwavering support. I want to hear from you in the comments. Flood the section with your reactions and theories about this exhilarating conclusion. And please, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful ending. Help spread the word and keep the narrative alive. This is the moment to show you care about the journey we've taken together.